Yeah, I think this has been discussed a lot, but I think we'll just do our little take on it, maybe just talk about a little bit the whole issue with the censorship of the New York Post story around the Hunter Biden laptop hard drive information, which, if true, seems to indicate that Joe Biden has not been completely truthful when he says that there's been no dealings with for the sake of Hunter Biden's profit with China and Ukraine, etc. Um, I've seen some things that basically say people are saying it's, of course, Russian disinformation and all this kind of stuff. I've seen a lot of things that are saying that, but Biden's lawyer actually requested the laptop back. And of course, you don't request a laptop back if you don't, not admitting essentially that it belongs to your client, right? So the big question that comes down to that I think around this, the most important thing is just the censorship that happened by Facebook and Twitter. I mean, there were all sorts of reports where Twitter was simply wouldn't let you even post the article. And their reasons for that changed. So that obviously they seem to be grasping for something that was coherent in trying to suppress information that was bad for one party and not the other. And at some point they did end up saying that, well, we're going to, relook at that. We're not going to be holding things back. That kind of coincided exactly with the FCC saying that they're going to look at it and basically say that they have questions about how this went down as well. A related thing is I thought it was strange that in those town halls that happened, I didn't expect Stephanopoulos to straight out ask Joe Biden about the corruption implications, but as the potential new president, I thought the censorship questions were completely valid to ask him. You could ask it in a way that says, look, without saying that this stuff is true, that the story was true, was it correct for Twitter and Facebook to completely lock down the story when there's been plenty of Trump things such as the taxes, et cetera, that were completely based on leaks and illegal leaks and so forth. And it was a completely different standard for that. So, my feeling is that it's once again just, it does give weight to the right's saying that a huge amount of the media and big tech is really playing for Biden's election. I think there's a lot to say that that's looking fairly like a valid argument at this point. And we really need to straighten out. I'm glad FCC is looking at it. We really need to have concrete standards and not allowing Twitter and Facebook to fly by the seat of their pants like this. They have to have very strict standards that are published and allow anyone to judge whether or not they're meeting those standards and not have it such an arbitrary situation. What's your take on all of that?
There's like so much to take on there. Okay.
Yeah. So, pick any aspect. I think the censorship is the most important.
Right. So like the first thing is, so this has to do with the Burisma, him working at Burisma, right?
Yeah, but there's also some Chinese entrepreneur bribing kind of things going on there, or whether or not Joe Biden made a contact on Hunter Biden's behalf that was talked about in email. Oh, nice to meet your dad, kind of thing, and all that. So it's around Ukraine and China.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Which of course that plays into what's going on now in the election, how everybody is like a China hawk, right?
well, it also plays into the impeachment, because essentially the story is that the FBI had the original laptop. This guy at this repair shop made a copy, So the FBI was potentially sitting on information about that proved Hunter and Joe Biden corruption in the Ukraine, when the whole impeachment was about Trump asking about Ukraine to look into corruption. So
Well,
it
him
has
withholding aid, right?
it has amazing implications going off in 1,000 different directions.
Right.
Yeah.
So what this whole thing reminds me of, I want to take this on in two things, right? So
Yeah.
one is the aspect of that this is yet again, it's another Russiagate, right?
Right.
And it is another, but in the sense that what happened with Russiagate is that it was actually Hillary Clinton and the Dems that were working with these Russian, agents or
Sure.
whatever,
Yeah.
and they just projected it onto the
It,
Trump campaign, right?
it,
This is what they
exactly.
do all the time.
It was classic swift boating, like Kerry, right? So Kerry's strength was that he was a Vietnam vet, et cetera, like that. So they turned it into a weakness by getting these people to come out that said swift boating, by basically getting these people to come out to say, no, he's horrible at it. He was a terrible leader and all that stuff, right?
Right, right,
So exactly, that's exactly what they do. It's like deflect by pointing the same accusations at them. But
right, right.
absolutely.
It's
And the
almost like how
Russiagate thing, you can almost like instantly when they start talking about Russia on like Twitter and so forth, you can almost instantly dispel it by saying, "But Hunter's lawyers asked for this thing back. That it's not a plant if they asked for it back, right?"
I mean, you don't even need to go that far. You
Yeah, yeah.
have video proof of Joe Biden admitting that
Hmm.
he was holding aid
Right. I know it.
over over this investigation,
Right.
whether or not this prosecutor or whatever was going to be what is disbarred or something.
Right. Right. Right.
um and so we have the video proof of him actually
Yeah.
saying, like, boasting about this, you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
it's a,
Exactly.
and the
And
fact
everyone
that,
laughing like this is the way the game is played. This is the
right.
power. This is the United States power moves that we do.
Well,
Yeah.
at the time when that video first came out,
Right.
at the time, because that was when this whole impeachment thing first started,
Hmm.
everyone was saying they were justifying it, right, or downplaying it by saying that the difference is that Trump is a president and he wasn't the president. Like, Biden wasn't the president at the time.
Hmm.
But you can tell that he was very confidently acting on the behalf of the US government.
Exactly. He was acting on the behalf of Obama and the U.S. government.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So there's no covering that part. Like
Yeah.
like all this stuff is just auxiliary information. It's just more information that is, well, I mean, apparently from what I'm seeing, there's lots of stuff that's being drudged up right now. And
Oh yeah.
supposedly this is being considered like the October surprise, right?
Right.
But the problem with this is that, much like how the whole Tara Reid thing, where has that gone? It went
Right.
nowhere. Why? Because the media, the mainstream media, especially left mainstream media, provides cover
Oh,
for these
absolutely.
people, and this is the time right now that we're in. As the election goes on,
Hmm.
this is what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to have this information come out before, so that voters can make informed decisions as to who they want leading their country, right? And so it's like the during the primary, you could tell this time around that a lot of it was the whole thing of that we need to come together, not attack each other, right? Don't
Hmm.
attack other Dems, just attack the right, or the opposition. That's what we're supposed to do. and
Right.
and that's what this whole election has done. It's just provided cover for the left, and especially for Joe Biden, because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were selected from the beginning. They
Oh,
were the
sure.
ones
Yeah.
who were always said to be the front runners.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This
Biden.
whole race was for them.
Yeah. Biden got like, I think it was 8.4% in New Hampshire and had to run out of there. Kamala Harris is not one of the seven, I believe it is, that receive delegates. It's yeah, they're completely selected. Absolutely, yeah. I did want to say regarding your point about the media providing cover. First of all, the Dems shoot themselves in the foot again. They always should get this stuff out way ahead of time, and this
Right.
stuff would be meaningless. The same as
Exactly.
Hillary went through this with that, with the emails and everything like that. You could have flushed stuff out a lot earlier, and it wouldn't have been that October surprise kind of thing. Regarding the media providing cover, I'm seeing all sorts of stuff about, there you've got pictures of Hunter Biden, sleeping with a crack pipe in his mouth and lie in a bed with us, in a bathtub with the same, all that kind of stuff. And all the messaging is like, and I kind of agree with it. Okay, you said the guy's got he's got issues, right? He's got problems with addiction, and don't go after him for that. Well, it's like that would be completely out the window if this was one of Trump's kids
Oh my God,
lying in
yeah.
bed with a crack pipe or whatever like that, or if this stuff came out with them, the media would be ravenous to go after it.
Yep.
So I really hate being lectured by people by people that are
Right.
saying this kind of stuff.
Right.
Yes, generally that's true. You want to give people that have a substance abuse problems. You just want to give them help, and you want to give them love, and you want to help them to move on. But that rings really false in this case.
Yep. Well,
Yeah,
I mean, it also it gives like this it humanizes Joe Biden, right? Where they're always trying to do that. They're always trying to humanize Joe Biden. Like he's this
yeah,
guy from Scranton, he's Joe from Uncle Joe from Scranton,
yeah.
and
Like,
he loves to tout that, and he always just likes to say that he's just this regular person, and he's gone through so much because his son died, and I think his was it his a former wife or something. He's had a lot of loss in his life,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So
So
that's what they're always trying to bring up with him.
right.
Is that humanizing aspect. And so this whole Joe Biden or Hunter Biden having a drug problem, like you're saying, very much, if it was one of Trump's kids, that would be it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, how can you have this as your first family?
Exactly,
But
exactly.
because it's Joe, then it's like it humanizes this whole thing. And it really reminds me of how, back in like the 80s, when it was the crack epidemic that was going on in certain neighborhoods, especially predominantly black and brown neighborhoods,
Right.
right? But mostly poor black and brown neighborhoods.
Sure.
That it wasn't a problem. It was a problem for the police to go after, right? But now, because more white people, and especially white affluent people, have
Hmm.
become, they've started suffering the issues of, these different addictions.
Hmm.
Well, then now it's a substance abuse problem,
Oh,
and it's
you're
like
absolutely
it's like watered down, it's
right.
flowery language,
You
and now we have to
absolutely
help
that absolutely
everyone.
that's the communication. The communication is, blacks and drugs equals crime. White
Thugs, they're
affluent
thugs.
whites and cocaine at parties that you probably shouldn't do is like, oh, you went overboard and you lost control and it's not really your fault. Exactly.
Right,
Absolutely true.
right.
Absolutely true. And that's why when it really drove me crazy. I did watch one of the town halls where a young black guy asked him something about essentially a "what are you going to do for us" kind of thing. What are you going to do for my community? And Joe just went on a tangent. He did right to he. I don't know. Somehow he magically wove his way to something about my grandpa in a tenement building when I was coming up in whatever New Jersey or whatever like that. It's just he tries to make it hokey right off the bat,
Yeah, yeah.
and he didn't address the real obvious gorilla in the room of you supported the crime bill and all this kind of stuff. And he tends to rewrite history. I mean, I just see him sitting there going like, well, what we ought to do is we ought to, like, without kind of coming around to talk about the fact that he's the one that's been doing things for 50 years. Why are
Right.
you talking about what you ought to do? Why don't you talk about what you worked on? Because this is your life's work. It should be something you're proud of.
Right.
And he's still
Right.
kind of,
Your record
yeah,
is what should speak for you, but his
he
record
can.
would speak very ill of him, right? And so
Right.
that's why he can't use that. But
Mm,
like what you were talking about with the censorship problem, so obviously that's something that we're seeing across the board, right,
right.
on all social media. And it's cracking down on not just this, but like on all different facets. So you remember a few weeks ago we talked about how Facebook and Twitter, that the week before the election, they said that they were not going to be posting anything that, and they're going to ban anything that has to do with political posts, right?
Right.
Which, who is to determine what a
Ex-
political post is,
exactly
right?
right. Yeah.
And also this hurts not only like they're trying to make it so that it's targeted for the presidential campaign,
Mm,
really,
mm-hmm.
but this hurts down ballot tickets as well. Like, what about people who aren't as well known and they need to get their information in local races? You know what I'm saying? And
So
they need
great
to get
point.
their information out there and they
That's a great
can't.
point. They don't have the budgets to get on the airwaves, et cetera, and they need that social media to get the message out there. Absolutely true.
Right, right.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then now I just saw that and obviously with this whole Hunter Biden thing, lots of channels and stuff, they've had their videos scrubbed, or they're supposedly they're going to have like another purge 3.0 or whatever,
Right.
where they're just going to get rid of different places, but they're already talking about how if you um say anything against vaccines, you're gonna be
Right.
they're gonna pull down your posts, or they're gonna pull down pages, right?
Right.
And then now Ajit Pai, I was just reading something where he promised that he is going to look at some section 230 or whatever, which addresses the First Amendment. And we already know how he attacked net neutrality,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
he's going to attack the First Amendment
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to like
So I'm
our
sorry, he's head of the FCC, right?
yes.
Okay, so folks might not all know that. And I thought I knew it. I was absolutely sure that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
him.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
So this is getting really crazy,
right.
but of course it's much like the Julian Assange case, or just like how they banned certain pages like Alex Jones and all this stuff. They always do it under the guise of this is for you. We
Right.
have to tell you what is right and wrong,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and what you can and cannot see,
Mm-hmm.
even though we are not communist China, supposedly, right?
Right, 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 right.
Supposedly, Pompeo and Trump were going after all of these apps, right, that the Chinese government has control over
Yeah,
because they are censoring certain apps and all this kind of stuff. But yet that's going on right here, but
yeah,
no one is looking at it because we're so busy distracted about all this other shit, and they
right.
put it in this box of, well, this is for your benefit, for the
Right.
greater
It's like
good.
the First Amendment has a big asterisk next to it that says we get to say what the proper context is, and it's a moving window depending on the local politics and all like that. Yeah. Yeah. I did want to say as well as we've been focusing on like Twitter and Facebook, but I think you did touch on like YouTube as well has been cracking down. From my perspective, Convo Couch, Fiorella, and Pasta have been like on fire representative progressives lately. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the content has been fantastic, and YouTube like used as some excuse some video they put up like 3 months ago or something like that to say, oh no, that's actually your strike two. That so we're gonna be restricting you for a while, kind of thing. I mean, it's like really heinous stuff, right? So it's kind of like the opposite of the October surprise, right? The
Yeah.
October clamp down on effective communicators because they're terrified.
Right.
Uh, I had one other thing. I'll bring this up. You can cut this out if this
Okay.
doesn't flow well with the
No.
show. But I was thinking like a big concern this time supposedly is senior voters, because supposedly they were all really concerned about like COVID, right? That basically that they were really disappointed with the handling of COVID and it's affecting them at a greater degree. And I'm just wondering, if this view of Joe Biden's kids get out there with, them being crack addicts or whatever like that,
Mhm.
or they said maybe it was a meth pipe or something. Um, how that plays to the senior people. How it's been.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have control of your family, or your family is that messed up, Joe. What's going on? I'm not sure that would sync right with mom and pop in Wisconsin or whatever.
Yeah. Well, you do have a lot of areas where you've had much like what's happening in California and New York right now, where so many people are leaving.
Mhm.
Obviously, what that does to the economy is it destroys it.
Right.
Of that local economy, where you lose jobs, you lose that revenue from taxes or whatever. So
And the
obviously, the
potential for
cities
a,
can't.
the potential for a death spiral is there once
Right,
you
right.
lose that
And
revenue.
what's
Yeah.
happened in a lot of these places is that you do have a lot of people, because there's nothing else to do, they end up, getting addicted to drugs, and
Right.
in that they is included alcohol and all this kind of stuff. And so it's like that can also play in his favor, because again it humanizes him, and it
Right.
makes it so that, oh, that's such a hard plight, for him to have a child. No one wants to see their child go through these things. And and a lot of people have that personal experience where they
Right.
have had that family member that is just really in a
Oh,
bad
sure.
place, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so it can connect, but it can also play the other hand, which is, it can show that he doesn't have that authoritative type of personality where he can like take control of his family, like he's totally lost control of everything.
Right.
Or like, why is his family so immoral? Or
Yeah.
it depends really.
To your point, I have seen cases. For one that comes to mind is Emma. I always never don't know how to say her last name. Vigilant from
Vigilant, yeah.
TYT on Twitter. Like, I think the only thing she posted about this whole laptop thing was basically one email where essentially it was from Joe Biden to his son Hunter, basically saying, "Oh, don't worry, kid. I know you've had a tough time," and she went all over that. Oh, what a humanizing thing! I don't know what the Republicans have a problem with this content.
See,
It's like, really?
it's all PR, man. It's all
Yeah. Oh,
PR,
yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And the fact that these people are all, under contract under CAA, that talent agency,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
not by mistake either.
Yeah, I don't actually know if Emma is. I know that Anna and Jenkar, and of
Mhm.
course there was a $20 million cash infusion from Katzenberg, who is a major bundler and donor to Clinton and Obama's and all that.
Mhm.
But I haven't seen Emma listed under those, but I wouldn't doubt if I just didn't. Maybe there's some
Well,
sub,
Emma
maybe there's
Emma
some
has
sub agency. I don't know.
like Emma has she has her own personal family ties to like Kirsten Gillibrand, and
Oh,
like
right, right.
apparently her family is like they've been mega donors to a lot of these Democratic apparatchiks or whatever.
Right.
So she's in it. She's in
Yeah.
the machine, just like the rest of TYT and a lot
I
of
was
these
trying
other
to figure
people.
at some point, I was trying to figure it was like specifically in October or November or something like year where last year where Emma went specifically from Tulsi's great. She's the only one on talking about war issues, and she's the only to look all of a sudden like she's evil. And it wasn't just like she wasn't just talking content wise that
Mhm.
she's got a problem with Tulsa. You could see the anger in her face, and it's like something turned like on a dime there. And I would love to know what it was, but it's not. There's nothing as obvious as the Katzenberg money or anything like that, or becoming hired by one of these talent
Right.
agencies.
It's about access. It's all about
Yeah.
access for a lot of these people.
Oh, somehow she just got the message from some of her Kirsten
Right.
Gillibrand
And I'm
folks or something.
sure that TYT is not going to be talking about any sort of censorship or anything like that, like because
Yeah.
they're not being affected by it. For them, it's some sort of conspiracy theory that, smaller channels, they have to have something to complain about. So there you go.
Right.
That's how they chalk it up.
Yeah.
It always, whenever you bring up anything, it's always just that you're a sore loser and you,
Oh yeah.
it's not actually that there are concerns out there that are validated, that are
Right.
credible. No. Everything is always just that you're a sore loser and you just want to bitch about everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Well,
So,
I did get blocked by Anna, so I was proud of that.
I mean, that's a rite of passage there, I feel
Yeah, it
like.
was pretty good.